Hi everyone and welcome back to a brand new series. And today we're going to understand is the default arguments. Okay, we're going to understand what are default arguments, and we're going to understand the keyword arguments, and how we can return multiple values from a function. Okay, so if you can recall, if my previous tutorial, we have just started with the with functions and the working of functions, and in the previous tutorial we have understood the working of positional argument. Okay, so I will just take a summary of that again, and then we will move on to understand these two arguments, that is the default argument and the keyword argument. Okay, so let's start it. So in my previous tutorial we just started with the positional argument. So suppose we have a function, and if there are kind of two parameters. So at this point I will just print a and b over here, and then maybe I'm not returning anything, so I'll just come outside the function and start with the main program. So if I have the value x, that is 2, and the value y as 5, and then I give a call to this function, that is function x comma y. So the output of this program will be so simple, it is 2 and 5, as you can see out here. That is because the value x, that is a positional argument, it will be, the value of x will be passed to a, because that's the first position. So x to a, and then the second position y to b. So this is called as the positional argument. So the values gets assigned to the parameters of the function depending on the position of the argument. Suppose, for example, if I make this as y and this as x, so in that case the value of y will be passed to a, and the value of x will be passed to b. So in this case we will have the output as 5 and 2, isn't it? Because the value of y is 5, so this is a, it will get the parameter a will get the value 5, and the value of x is 2, so the parameter b will get the value as 2, and so I'm printing a comma b, so that is 5 and 2, isn't it? So this is positional argument. Now we are going to learn about the default argument. Default argument is something that we already give some default values to the parameters. So suppose if I give something like b is equal to 5 over here, so this becomes a default value. So by default the value of b will be 5, and then for example if I have x and y and I only pass x, now you can see the difference. Now as per the rules there should be equal number of arguments and parameters, isn't it? But when we use a default argument, in that case the you can ignore the default arguments, and what will happen is, in that case, suppose if I am only passing x, so the value of x will get assigned to a, and since there is a second argument that is missing out here, okay, so in that case the default value 5 will be taken as the value of b. So if I run this code, and you can see the output, that is 2 and 5. So if I just change this value to 10, and now you can see the output, that is 2 and 10. Since I'm only passing one argument, that is x, suppose if I pass the value y, so in this case the value of y, that is 5, will get assigned to a. That's the positional that's the positional argument that will take place out here. And for the next argument, that is a missing argument, in that case the default argument 10 will be taken for b, and you can see the output, that is 5 and 10 at this point, isn't it? But if I pass both the values like x comma y, now x comma y, now that is x, the value of x is 2, so that value 2 will get assigned to a, and the value 5, since there is a default argument, but now I'm passing a second argument, in this case the value of 5 will get assigned to b, so it won't be 10 now since I'm passing the second argument. So you can see the output out here, that is 2 and 5, as you can see. So you can please understand this difference. So in case if the argument is missing, only in that case the default value for that particular parameter will be taken. But if I'm passing all the arguments as equal to this number of parameters, so the value of that particular argument will be taken. Okay, so in this case the value of 5 y is 5, so the value of b will be taken as 5. So but if I remove this, so there is only one argument. In this case the default value of b will be taken as 10. Remember one thing, that the default the default list or the default parameter list should be should be followed after the positional argument. So it's not like you cannot have anything like 2 is equal to 10 comma a. Okay, so this is not allowed. Okay, so the basic rule that you need to follow is you need to have your positional arguments or the positional parameters first, and then you need to follow that by your default argument. Understand it? So the positional parameters will be first, and then you need to have those default arguments or the default parameters for this function. Okay, so this is very important to understand. This is called as a default argument. Okay, and then a very important feature which Python has is the keyword argument. Now keyword argument, it works like, it works with the naming of that variable. That matters a lot. For example, this is x, so the value of x will get assigned to a. This is a positional argument. But when we talk about keyword argument, in keyword argument, suppose if I have the value a comma b, and so in this case I need to use the same variable name that I have in this function. So that is a, so I pass as 10, and b I can pass as 20. And if I run this, you can see the output, that is 10 and 20. Now you might get a bit confused that what's the use of this. The use is it matches not positionally but by the name of the variable. So since this is a variable named a, so it will match with this a, and since this is b, so it will match with this b. Okay, now to your surprise, exactly the working, if I want to show it to you, if I make this as b, okay, and this as a, now you might understand, you might get this feeling that this value of b will get assigned to a, but no. Since this is a keyword argument that I'm using, the value of b, since this b will get matched to this b. Now this is the first argument, and over here this is the second parameter. So we are not working with positional arguments, we are working with keyword. So this b gets matched with this b. So this b gets the value 10, and this a gets matched with this first parameter. So the value of 20 will get assigned to this a. Now if you run this code, and you can see we have 20 and 10. This is because the value of a is 20. So a over here, the first parameter got this value as 20, and b got the value as 10. So this is called as the keyword arguments. How it works? It works that the basic formula, the basic not the formula, the basic thing to remember, the basic principle to remember is the name of the argument and the parameter should be same. Only in that case it works. So it does not matter that in what position wise I am passing the arguments. If I'm using the same name, I can pass this as b first, and then I can pass a. But once the receiving end will receive it in the way it should receive, that is the argument a will receive to the first parameter, and this will be received to the second parameter out here. Okay, so this is called as the keyword argument. Okay, and then you can use the combination of all this. For example, if I have a comma b, and then I have c is equal to 20. Now this is a default parameter. Okay, and suppose if I have this like x over here, okay, and then I pass a is equal to 40. Okay, now let us just run this and let us try to understand this. Okay, and over here it's saying that a is got multiple values argument a. Okay, so this is because this A out here is getting matched with this. But then again I'm passing, this is a positional argument that I'm trying to pass, and even this is getting matching with this, so it is actually receiving multiple values. So we have this error. To remove this error, okay, I just need to remove this x from here, okay, and suppose if I want, okay, a if I want to combine all three, so what I can do is, okay, suppose if I keep this as x, okay, and then b is equal to 50, then that's it, okay, and now we will run this, and you can see that we have an output. What's the output? Okay, I'll just print the c also out here, okay, and now I will run the output, and you can see that is 2, 50 and 20. Why? Because this value of x, that is 2, will get assigned to A. So that's the positional argument that is taking place out here. And then the value of B, you can see this is the keyword argument, isn't it? This is a keyword argument that I'm passing. This will get matched with this one. Okay, and then the third argument is missing, so C will be taken as 20. Okay, so even if I make this as C and this as B, and now we will run this, and you can see that there is again an error that is missing, that is a positional argument C, isn't it? Now this is because, if you can guess, this is a positional argument for A, that's perfect. Now B will get matched to this one. Okay, since there is a default argument, it's okay, but it will receive 50, and now there is missing argument, that is C, and you can see this error out here. So try to understand this error, why we have this error. Okay, so we need to have a value, or I can give a default value out here, and now if I run this, okay, you can see this is run successfully. Why? Because the value of x has been received by A, and this is a keyword argument, so the value of B to B will get matched, so B will get value as 50 and not the default value, and C is missing, so C will have this default value as 10. So you can see the value of A is 2, and the value of B that I passed, that is B to B, that is 50, and you can see the 50 out here, and then this C has the default value 10, and it printed 10 out here. So this is how you can, you can just combine it, and you can run it. Okay. Okay, there is something missing. Okay, just a minute. Okay, now I can just run this. Okay, so this is how to work together with all the positional arguments, the default argument, and the keyword arguments. Okay, and this is one of the fantastic features that Python has. If you compare these features with any other programming language, Python features are, I would say, it's ridiculously over the top. I mean, such features we don't have. These are some modern features that Python has. So we can say that Python is the most modern language of today's time. We can say this. Okay. So this is all about. Now there is something that I'm missing, is, I'll just check. Okay, that was multiple. Okay, that is returning multiple values. Now, how to return multiple values from a function? So in my last tutorial, we have just learned how to return a value. So suppose if I return something like A, right? So I can collect this A in I, and I call this function and pass some values. That is okay, I'll just pass a constant also. So if I'm passing a constant 2, so it will be received by A, and this as 2, okay, and this as 5. Now let us just run this and see what output we get. Okay, so it has run successfully, and I'll just print I over here. Okay, now we will see it. Okay, so it has returned 2, and let us just print these values over here also, so we will see whether it is working or not. Okay, so if you're passing the constants, so you can see that it has run successfully if you're passing constants. So this is 2, 5 and 4. So 2 is been received by that is A, and over here that A, B, and that is 5. So A, B and C. So B should be receiving Okay, so C has received 4 and B has received 5. So that it is actually this way, it is just a positional wise it has taken place. Okay, but what we are going to understand out here is how to return multiple values. So returning multiple values, right now I'm just returning A, and if you want to return multiple values, so simple, just give commas. Okay, and then if you run this, okay, now I am returning three values, a comma b comma c. So when you use a comma, so in that case Python considers this as a tuple, and so this will return a tuple. So will be a tuple out here, and you can see the output out here. It is in a form of a tuple, isn't it? So if you want to return multiple values, you can store that in a tuple, or return, just separate the values by comma. So by default it will be taken as a tuple, and the receiving ends for the receiving variable, the variable that you will collect that value, will be a tuple. So if you print that, so it will be in a form of a tuple. Also what you can do is you can also use a list. Suppose if I declare an empty list, and then I just add this values to that list, isn't it? I can do this, and L dot, again I will add the third one, and then what I can do is I can just return that list. So I over here now will be a list, as you can see out here. I out here will be a list, because since I'm returning L, which is a list, so this will be received by I, and at this point I will be a list. So you can understand these features are just so fantastic. Believe me, I've worked with so many programming languages like Java and C Sharp, but the kind of flexibility and the kind of easiness that we have in Python, we don't have that in any other programming languages. I don't want to be offensive for all those who love Java or those who love the C Sharp. Every language has its flexibility, has its a kind of a DNA that everybody likes. But personally speaking, practically speaking, if you say, Python has the features that seriously at this time it is so modern, and no other language, I don't find a language that can replace Python. Okay, so that's it for today. Let's see this next tutorial. We'll be working more on functions possibly. Okay, bye for now.